QPR, QPR, Response Rangers are on the up and up. QPR, QPR, now we're heading for European Cup.
Hello and welcome to Open All R's, the QPR podcast. We are back after a 2-week break for internationals, which leads me immediately on to... I'm David Fraser and I'm joined by... There's three others here, but one of them is Paul Finney.
You alright?
Yeah, how are you, Paul?
I'm not bad.
How was the international break for you?
Well, I was just getting over the penalty incident. And lo and behold, you turn up at Loftus Road and some gobshite gives another penalty, which kind of ruined it for me and brought it all back to me. So I'm not good with penalties at the moment. I'm a little bit sore.
But to be fair, the one at Loftus Road was, at the very least, 50-50, wasn't it? Whereas the Northern Ireland one was...
That was ridiculous. I mean, it was like Rob Styles and acid, that ref, wasn't he? It was just rubbish. But yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
Did you go to the
I didn't go to the Belfast game. I went to Switzerland, but I didn't get in because it's my own fault. I didn't look hard enough for a ticket. And there was thousands of people looking for tickets. Anyway, but the interesting thing was that there was lots of QPR fans out in Switzerland as well, supporting Northern Ireland as well. So we kept the QPR thing going as well.
Very good.
And two QPR factions were lost. I really want to go to the World Cup, though, because it's 1986, and it's all right for you English. You qualify for it all the time. You just take it for granted. Oh, it's the World Cup. Oh, it's the European Championship. It's for us. It's a dream that only happens every 4 decades, and it's over. Carry on.
Since that last tournament you qualified for 2 years ago.
I'm talking about the World Cup.
Yeah.
Actually, you actually didn't know what I said. I said World Cup. It was 1986.
I did feel for you. I felt for you personally and your nation, which I'm sure everyone's very grateful for my...
It was sad because the South got mullered as well, and that was really... Because I was thinking, well, obviously we can't go through. I'd like the South to go through at least. Because, believe it or not, we do actually light up World Cups, European Championships with a bit of a crack. It's like QPR in League... when we used to be in the Division 2, whatever it was called in them days. No, it was Division 2 in them days. I'm sure it was.
So it's the third tier.
Yeah. And the crack used to be brilliant. Remember going to away games?
The old third division.
Like you used to get a Colchester, you used to get a Hartlepool, the
Rushton and Diamonds.
Yeah. Oh, Rushton. That Ainsworth double. You know what I mean? There was,
well,
that was
sorry, go on.
That's all right. So I haven't introduced anyone else. Yeah.
It's reasons why you fall in love with football, isn't it? It's kind of the days like that you dream of, like the playoffs, the internationals, something nice.
QPR podcast.
And then referees come along and ruin it for you.
QPR podcast.
It's like Joey Martin when we talk about Newcastle.
And you're losing your manager to West Brom by the looks of things.
At least it's not Scotland.
Right. Also joined by Englishman Chris Charles.
Yeah, well, Englishman via Scotland.
Welcome.
In a roundabout sort of way.
Manager Robin Gitt.
And we've also got a very special guest with us. We'll come on to sort of your story later, but many of you are familiar with James Casling, who plays for the QPR Healthy Kickers. Have I got that right, James?
Yeah.
And has got a wonderful story to tell, which, as I say, we'll come on to. But welcome, James.
Thank you.
And you're how old? You're
22.
You're 22. So when we say old third division, does that mean anything to you?
Not really.
Right, okay. just
Do you remember Fraggle Rock?
What?
Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
Yeah. No.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
We could do this as a whole podcast. Do you remember this? Do you remember that?
By the way,
shan't.
James, congratulations on your award, by the way.
Thank
well
you.
deserved. Really, really well done.
What award is that? You might be asking.
Mind Media Awards. So the show I was on, Victoria Derbyshire, got nominated for an award and we won the award. My interview was nominated along with a few others that she had done. And we went up against the royal family and won. So
Fantastic.
Wow.
Did you get to go to the ceremony?
yeah,
Oh, nice one.
Prince Harry was there. Very well spoken.
Casual.
Yeah, couldn't. He was a lot taller than I thought he would be, and he's very. But there was
Did you get to meet? You met him.
because he got escorted away at halfway through. So, yeah, and he came in late anyway. So, do what you want, really, innit?
The life of a royal, eh?
The life of a royal.
He's about the size of a centre half, isn't he?
Huh?
He's quite big. He's quite the height of a centre half sort of thing.
Yeah, he would probably be a good footballer or a rugby player.
See what he's doing Tuesday.
Yeah. Or today, if you're listening to the podcast
Of course,
the day
yes.
after we record it. So, James, we've got loads to ask you, and we're really, really delighted that you're with us because we've been trying to get you on for a long time.
Yeah.
So, we're eager to hear all about you. But before that, we're going to do some of the business stuff, which is talking about QPR. And I understand that you were at the game on Saturday as well. So, we'd love to get your opinion on that. Before we run into the Villa game, let me just tell you what you need to know. First of all, the beers tonight are sponsored by or provided by Stephen Meacham, and this is a rare one that Finney, you actually have beer in front of you. Regular listeners will know that Finney talks occasionally about his celiacness.
That's a great way of putting
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but you have. These were brought in by Simon Rain last time, and you have San Miguel gluten free.
It's biblical. This is marvelous. This is as good as Moses parting any bloody sea. I can tell you.
So in a week where the church has complained that Jesus was depicted as a sausage roll, you are saying that gluten-free beer is the same as Moses parting the Red Sea. Carry on,
I'm
you
saying
might
it's
say.
bigger than Moses parting the Red Sea. If you were a celiac as long as I've been, even the drink beer is a miracle within itself. So turning water into wine and all that nonsense. Oh, if you're a Christian, sorry, of course it's not nonsense.
Well, thank you, Stephen Meacham, for those. And anybody that wants to, I guess, join in the conversation and help us write the show and tell us anything that's on your mind, you can do so via Twitter. Follow us at QPR Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook if you search for the new QPR podcast. And you can listen to all old episodes at qprpod.co.uk. Villa. Who wants to talk about Villa, the Villa game on Saturday? Christopher?
Yeah, sure. I've still got a bit of a sore neck from spending so much time looking at the ball in the sky. But yeah, it was. I didn't think I was going to make it. I was in the fair city of Belfast, which some people might know, for a week, and it was literally plane landed and dashed to the ground. But
How's your accent?
well, I'm not going to do it now. Having spent a week with a load of people from there. No, it was great though.
You were there for the Frampton fight at 1%.
I was, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't make this get
But you
obviously.
were there
'cause I
for
came
work or pleasure?
I was there for work. I did Monday to Friday, following Frampton around, and then was brought home Saturday morning, so I didn't get to see the fight. Which was
what a great
slightly
week,
annoying.
though. Fight week.
Yeah,
That's
it's a little thing. I'll give it a plug. It's called No Filter Boxing on BT Sport. We just follow a few people around, fighters around, chat to them, and blah blah blah. Anyway,
he's an amazing character. What he's done for cross community is unbelievable.
And if it's still on iPlayer, that documentary with the McGuigans, him and the McGuigans, I enjoyed immensely. I thought it was a great story. I know, yeah. Very good.
Anyway, going back to QPR.
But anyway, so
QPR podcast.
the plus point of not seeing the fight was I got to Loftus Road, so that was good-ish.
Sort of.
But I mean, first and foremost, Villa deserved to win that. I mean, you couldn't really argue against that. I mean, the penalty, at the time, I was in the at the Loft End, and I was thought, no way is that a penalty. But my mate in America was watching it on the Rangers thing, whatever it is, and he reckons,
But is it because his hand's in plaster that it looked worse than what it was?
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I mean, I thought we played all right first half, and if we hadn't conceded that penalty that late, then who knows? But I just think, I don't know, that the formation, the 3-5-2, it looks like people have worked it out a little bit, and I know a few people on the forums have been talking this as well about Baptiste getting pulled, too far right, and so the space opens up. So
what's Furlong need to do to get
I mean, he's
extended stint?
I've been championing at the bit for him to get in, and I've said before on here, he looks to me like he could develop from a right back into like a right winger or a right wing back, and I think he'd be perfect for the role. And Sheffield United, when we were in a bit of trouble, came on, plugged the gap, and he was great.
The trouble is he's one of them ones that some people are waiting to make a mistake so they can hurl at them.
Sorry, Furlong.
Yeah, it's one of them ones that some people will actually, because kids don't really. It's one thing I hear about modern football. Kids don't get a chance to develop. I mean, Alan McDonald was never the player he was without the experience that he gained from making mistakes and everything else. Fenwick, a lot of them all came through, made mistakes, Wicks and all that lot. Before that, Gallen, Cook, everyone. But you're not given a chance to learn to be a footballer now. You have to be like instant mash. You have to come in, do the job.
And do you know what instant mash is, James?
Stop making me feel old. But I've got a confession to make. I had a few bits of. I think someone spiked me water on Saturday because I was a wee bit drunk, and I don't remember anything really. I remember going to the game, and I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Everything else is a bit of a blur. But I wouldn't have given that penalty.
Even though you don't remember the game.
I vaguely remember. I was sort of. I'm sure it was. I've got to buy the guy in front of me a Christmas present. I feel so sorry for him.
You're going to buy me a Christmas present?
No.
Okay.
But why? Well, sorry, I'm just going to come back. Why do some players get booed and not others? I mean, Washington. I know nothing against Washington at all, but he's had quite a long run. Not score. Actually, I think he's got 4 goals now this season, but he had quite a long run without.
It's a very good point.
But he didn't seem to get any stick from what I could see around me. Whereas Furlong's had a handful of games, so and maybe he's made a couple of mistakes, which you'd expect from a young player. So why pick on him?
I don't think he's being picked on. Sorry, Dave. I think it's a case of we want youngsters to get games, but we want them to come in the side and be brilliant straight away. But we're going to have to persevere, put up with, and support, which I think is a much better way. And then when you develop the player, he's more responsive. He's one of our own. He's been there. We've brought him through. Why people look for scapegoats, I don't know, but it happens.
Why
especially
doesn't
youngsters.
Washington get stick? Actually, because he has got what you've just been complaining about. He has had an extended run in the team, and for all the things that people may or may not like about him, he puts in a shift, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He puts the work rate is appreciated by everyone, and so because of that, he's given a bit of latitude. Is that the right word, or whatever it is? Now you go to Furlong. Two things count against him as far as being picked on or whatever you want to call it. First of all, he hasn't been given a proper run.
Nope.
The second of all, his name is Furlong. And that comes with an instant expectation that he should be, a bloody good player, and he should be kind of one of the best players in the team. And those two things combined probably mean he's given a bit of a raw deal.
But in this thing of the new era of QPR that we're in, you would like to think the players would be given time. I mean, the fans forming on, but I mean, Ian Holloway spoke.
Have you been on Twitter?
Ian Holloway spoke at length about how much Neda Manua is one of his favourites and how much he's loved and how much of a man he is and everything else, and he walked through brick walls and everything else. But yeah, everyone at the same time saying don't renew his contract. So what a manager sees and what fans see is quite interesting.
I think at the same level, people are saying don't renew his contract, aren't they?
Well, Kolka, him, Perch, people are just like, no, we don't want any of them. But the manager may look at them as being more experienced than what you need in the Championship. I don't know. So.
James, you were at the game. What did you think?
It wasn't a bad game. There was a few mistakes, but overall, it wasn't like, I'm guessing, what happened at Nottingham Forest. That was, from watching the Twitter, that was just shameful sort of thing. But
it was shameful.
I saw the penalty, and in my eyes, I don't think it was a penalty. But you're always going to have different views. Like, the referee has a different view to what we see in the stands, and at the end of the day, the referee is the over person who sees everything, and if he says it's a penalty, there's not much you can do except go with the flow. Regardless with younger players, it's obviously, doing my football coaching, we've done a bit of coaching younger footballers, and it's ridiculous. It's 99% of kids get thrown out of academies and all this. It's only 1% of players who go through academies from the ages of about 5 up to 16 actually make it as a professional footballer. And it's the same when we go to England. We've got all these experienced players, but they're going to have to retire. Who's going to take it when they retire? So we need to work on the younger players. Obviously, experience helps in certain cases, but in Furlong's case, like you say, he's got to have a good run of time before he actually gets to that level where he's experienced enough to play in the Championship, because it's not easy. I play for the Mental Health League, and that's got its standards as well. And that's people with mental health. Imagine playing against professional footballers who have maybe gone to different clubs, big clubs or small clubs, and the level is so high now that you can't just, like you said, it's not, they expect instant mash when you can't expect that from a person. They can't just put on boots and become the next Ronaldinho or the next Ronaldo or Messi. It takes time, and it takes mistakes, and it takes effort. As long as you've got the will and the drive to do it. But clubs aren't given that. If you look at it, 99% of kids who spent their whole years in academies with football clubs. By 16 they're out doing nothing. So the talent's wasted. But we're then just buying players from other clubs, and you saw it at the Villa game. It's just, there was a drive and they want to win, and it's all that. But I've seen on like all the Twitter and all that they've got young players that are ready to go. Like, I mean, I've met Ryan Manning personally, and he's had quite a few games, but he should be starting and finishing, because that's the only way.
Get a proper run in the team.
Because that's the only way they're going to learn. How are you going to learn? Like, if you get 15 minutes before the game ends. But like you say, the managers, it's difficult, because what can you do, really?
Because the manager's under pressure to get results.
Yeah, it is. It's more about winning than it is about developing their own players, which is why I personally think that football's gone down, because instead of bringing players up, we're just getting rid of them to buy someone from a different country who has been brought up and
has had that chance.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because you've got a system. Sorry, Dave.
No, go.
You got the system in Germany where you have to have so many of youth team players in your side, so many local based players as well. Because obviously they want to feed things through. Where if you look at that Villa side on Saturday, a lot of it is they're going through. They have to go up. I mean, you can imagine the pressure on them that they have to go up. Whereas there's not that much pressure on the side. But you tell that to someone like Man in a Furlong, if they make a mistake at a home match and everyone suddenly starts, because you do hear it lots of lots of things they say. Talking about the referee, James, I have to say, if that referee could find his way to Specsavers, I will personally shake him by the hand, because he was outrageously poor. And it was poor for both sides a little way as well, but some of the tackles that Villa were getting away with were absolutely shocking.
Yeah. This problem that we're talking about, that players aren't given a chance. We had an England match last week where Solanke played for England before he played a Premier League game. Have I got that right?
And the other guy for Liverpool as well, Rodriguez, I believe.
Played for England before he's played in the Premier League. That is ridiculous.
But they didn't lose, so...
No, but if that doesn't tell you that there is a problem, and it trickles down to clubs at QPR's level, because we're talking about someone like Furlong that should be given 25-game run in the team, that hasn't been, and is kind of written off instantly.
But that goes to the other thing. If you talk about international football, and we're a football podcast, we can talk about it. Sometimes I think, certainly I can only speak from Northern Ireland point of view. When we were shite, people were injured all the time. People weren't turning up. People didn't want to play for us. When we got decent and we're nearly qualifying and qualifying, suddenly everyone's blah blah blah. Trouble with England players, they're dictating when they play now. So them guys that pulled out of the squad don't ever pick them again, because to play for your country should be a huge honour. It shouldn't be something that you sort of don't really fancy against Brazil. How can you not fancy playing against Brazil or Germany? Are you mad?
We're talking about
if that opportunity came up, you have to take it. Like,
even a friendly, even tiddlywinks.
That's what I mean, to say that you've played for your country. Like, no matter who your country is, like like you say, it's an honour. Like, because you've shown that you can perform at that level. Whereas England players are just like, can I be bothered? Not really.
Do you have like an international team in your league? I mean, is there a chance for you guys to play for England or whatever?
There has been talks of a mental health World Cup sort of thing, but it would only be between England, Ireland and Wales and Scotland. And it would literally consist of a team. So let's say it was us, it would be QPR Health for kickers. It wouldn't be one gets picked from each team.
Right, like a team to represent
the
nation.
It would literally be, so if QPR did it, so if my team did it, we would go and beat England, even though we're just QPR. Whereas they wouldn't pick someone from, let's say, Everton, because they've got a football team. They wouldn't pick someone from Arsenal. So if we were to do it, we'd be picked, and then we wouldn't be able to do it ever again.
So how many mental health teams are there then?
Too many to count. In our league alone, which is the North West London League, which is run by Middlesex FA, there's about a good 8 teams. Most of them, some of the, like, in our league, we were the only club that was actually represented by QPR. So on our team sheet is QPR Health for Kickers.
Oh, okay.
Whereas other clubs have got involved now. We play against a team that Brentford fund, and Barnet do another one. But it's football clubs don't want to put money into it. It's sad.
That is sad. Ridiculous as well.
Because that's what I mean. Even though we've got QPR kit and we get QPR coaching, we're actually funded by the NHS. So QPR don't fund us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, not me.
So basically, Park Royal, which is the mental health unit for Wembley, all that sort of stuff, we come under QPR's area of how they work. But NHS paid that QPR to coach us and train us and give us kit and stuff like that.
Okay, so but having said that, QPR. I know we're sort of jumping forward a bit, but QPR do look after you quite well.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're here tonight, James, in your whatever they call it, QPR shell suit. Is that what you call it? A kit, whatever it is.
Kit, yeah.
It's actually a coaching kit.
Coaching top.
Yeah, because I was literally at the stadium before I came here. Spend more time there than my own house, to be fair.
Was the ref still trying to find his way out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Like, it was pretty dark as well. Like, just saw this man wandering along the pitch. Like, he was a bit lost, but.
So James, look, it's a good time to come on to you. There's a couple of other bits about the Villa game and the rest of it, but we'll come back to that later. It's a good time to come on to you. Thank you for joining us. So around March time, you made national headlines. You talked about it before. You were on the BBC. I think you gave interviews to Lad Bible and various other things, and a really powerful segment on the Victoria Derbyshire show. For anyone that didn't see it, just give us a very sort of brief overview of your story and how that came to be.
So 2010, my 15th birthday, unfortunately I lost my dad to suicide. Difficult. So it destroyed me, and then I ended up being admitted to the local mental health unit, where I spent 4 months inside, being sectioned and just trying to take my own life in a way. Like, I was just trying to get over it. But when it happened, no one in school told me what I was feeling or what my actions were doing was wrong, which is, I'll never forget, my secondary school head of year said to me, after I did the interviews, he said to me, and it wasn't in a rude way or a disrespectful way, he just went, that's how the system is failing kids. Because in schools they don't teach people about mental health. Like, I was at the age of 15 and it got put down to just going through puberty, which, I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a kid going through puberty who would cut themselves.
Jeez, man, that's ridiculous.
And it was just that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, I was in the mental health service, the adolescent mental health service then, counselling. And I'll never forget, one of my last sessions, the counsellor said to me, he said, maybe you're not going to know about how your dad died. And for me, that wasn't helpful. That didn't give me closure. Like, there was the support, it wasn't there for young people. Like, I mean, I made my first suicide attempt when I was 15, but no one had told me that was wrong. And then when it got to the age of 18, just the day before my 18th birthday, I visited the room where my dad took his life, and I went for an assessment. I went to the doctor and asked for help, and I was on a waiting list for about 3 months to even get an assessment. And I went to the assessment. 3 weeks later, I was admitted to hospital for trying to kill myself. And they rang up and they were like, you've got an appointment. And my mum picked up the phone and was like, it's too late now. What if he had killed himself? There's nothing you can do. And then I eventually got involved with football. The occupational therapist on the ward came to me and he was like, do you want to play football? So I was like, of course I want to play football.
This was how long after you went in there?
So I went in 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, so June the 12th I got admitted. So about the end of June, towards July, he just came and was like, do you want to play football? Because I hadn't been cleared for leaving, which is the most difficult bit, because I had to spend 9 days just locked up constantly for 24 hours a day. And I feel like I love, do you know what, the NHS has done a lot for me, and I'm not saying it hasn't, but the system that they have isn't working. Like, instead of going to an 18 to 21 year old ward, I ended up in an older adults unit, so I was the youngest one on the ward. So I was 18 with 40, 50 year old men and women who were suffering from mental health problems. And I'll never forget, my mum was like to me, don't become like them. And at the time I didn't know what that meant, but she came and visited me, and I was walking up and down the ward, just nothing in my head. And she said, that's what I mean. I'm like, but I couldn't help it because that's what I was surrounded with. The help that was there wasn't for me. Like, they sort of had this book of, this is how you deal with someone. But being 18 at the time, I was the youngest one there. The youngest person was 23. So even then, there's still a gap between that. And then he came along, and the occupational therapist, Tom, came along and just said, do you want to play some football? I said, yeah. Next thing you know, I'm wearing QPR kit, playing for them, scoring goals, and actually wanting to live instead of trying to kill myself.
And so then from there you got, so Tom said to you, do you want to play football? And then he hooked you up with the health kickers QPR team, right? Presumably.
Well, yeah. So what they do is they bring you to the football. So you go to football and then you go back to the hospital. So he would bring me to the football and then bring me back to hospital. And then it just sort of, even after I left hospital, I still kept going every Wednesday, just because it was something I enjoyed, and it did keep me alive for a while. Like, I wouldn't say for a while, it's still keeping me alive today. But yeah, that was really how it blossomed. Like, I fell in love with the game.
Had you played before?
Nah. I had one appearance in my secondary school, 15 minutes off, and I was off. So, but I'd always enjoyed football as a kid, like growing up and all that. I'd always wanted to play football, and obviously, like, I know it will never get to a stage where I'll be playing professionally, but to just put on the kit alone and just say I'm actually part of a football club, like, it's like a boyhood dream come true sort of thing. But that's what I mean, still doing it today. So
and obviously the whole fact of having that identity of belonging to a group is very helpful, but I guess being able to talk with other people who may have gone through similar things is quite helpful, and also with the coaches, people who are sort of specialised in this.
If I'm brutally honest, I don't find it helpful talking to someone with mental health problems. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, because they're suffering themselves. Like, I don't feel it's helpful for either of us to go, if one of us is feeling like rubbish, to be to someone else, because then that person's going to feel like rubbish. But having the coaches, Connor and Nathan and Peter and Justin and stuff like that, it's the sort of, I don't know how to say it, I look up to them now, like they're my role models, because when I was at my lowest, I mean, Connor was a disability manager at the time. When I was at my lowest, instead of giving up on me, and every time I wanted to throw the towel in, they would make sure I didn't, because they saw stuff in me that I couldn't see in myself. And then eventually Connor paid for my level 1 football coaching, so then I could play for them and then coach for them as well. So it's just that sort of having someone else believe in you helps a lot as well.
So James, the headlines on a lot of the pieces around you has been that great line which you know really sort of cuts deep with a lot of people, and is quite an emotional thing to say, which is football has changed my life, which I think a lot of people get, and is a wonderful sentiment. Explain a bit more about that. What's it given you that has really helped you sort of turn your life around in the last 3 years?
It's very it's more sentimental. It's the fact that that when I was at my lowest and I didn't want to live anymore, it came into my life at the worst time possible. And and every week at training I would push myself to be a better person and be the best footballer I could be. And for that hour and a half while I was on the pitch, I wasn't mentally unwell. I was just a normal boy having a kick around with mates. And then it sort of developed, because when we first had the first training session, I didn't know it had anything to do with QPR. I just thought it was, and then it sort of it transpired that it was QPR. And then we started playing for the team in the league, and then it just sort of, I needed a reason to live, and that was the reason. I mean, if you ask my mum now, I think she's proud that I get put on the kit and I get to represent, and I get to say that I play for QPR. Like, I've been top goal scorer 3 seasons in a row. The first 3 seasons I was there. I'm up to 81 goals now. I'm now the captain of the team. And just stuff like that. It was. I wanted to make my mum and my brothers and my niece proud, and it gave me that, and it gave me, because I had stayed alive for my mum and my brothers, but then after a while that sort of wears off, because you think to yourself, it's like, I'm living for other people. And then with the football, it gave me a reason to live for myself, because I wanted to be top goal scorer for 3 seasons in a row. I wanted to score 81 goals. I want to get to 100 goals, which I've still got about 4, 5, 6 months left. I've given myself targets to achieve, and without football I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have actually succeeded in life. Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at a club that I love and adore, and that I feel at home. Like, in my messed up mind, football and QPR is where my mind just doesn't bother me. It's the place that people call it a church, but for me it's more than just a church. It's a place where I'm not a mentally unwell person. I'm just part of the team. Like, I mean, I coached for 3 years now. I'll go in and people will say hi to me, and it's like home. Like, losing my dad, I didn't have that sense of direction. I didn't have the place where I could feel okay. And then QPR came in, and it did, and it wasn't. And that's what I mean. It's not just me playing football. It's being at the matches, and it's me being at the matches and actually being involved in it as well. That's what I mean. It's more than just kicking the ball around for however many minutes. That's what I mean. Like, to put on a kit and just say you play for QPR, like. And that's what I mean. All I really wanted to do was make my mum and my brothers proud and my family proud. And that's what it gave me. It gave me a reason for them to be proud of me.
Well, do you know what, James? Just going back a wee bit to something you said there about not talking to other people who... Because mental health covers such a wide... Because everyone's is different. There's not two people who are the same. But perhaps by going on the football field and competing and being what some people would say was normal, it's good enough for anyone. You don't need to show your experiences. You've got a goal. How important is it to get other people involved? If someone's listening to this now and they're not feeling so well within themselves, how would they go to join the Kickers?
So if they wanted to join Healthy Kickers, what you'd have to do is go to Brent Mind. So I don't know the deal, but they will refer you to QPR, and then you can come along and all that sort of stuff. But I can't really give more details on that, because I didn't go through that system. I went through the hospital system, so the hospital took me. But if you go to Brent Mind, pardon me, they can refer you to QPR, and then you can start playing that way.
Brilliant. And can people come and see games as well if they want?
Oh yeah, definitely. We play in Uxbridge, Brunel Sports Park, so by the university, first Friday of every month. And it's just 3 league games, and that's it really. But we do go to tournaments across the country. Like in September we played at England's training ground, and that's just stuff like that. We've
That's St George's Park.
Yeah,
great.
And we played we play in Woking, lose. We played in Brighton's training ground. Trying to think what else. We've won the plate a few times around the place.
And what sort of player are you? If you've scored 80 odd goals in 3 years, so what are you? Are you the number 9, the old-fashioned centre forward?
Nah, number 14. But no, we've only literally we won the postcode lottery trust thing where we got free kit. Lovely kit, but it's got nothing to do with QPR. But it's lovely. Like we finally got numbers. Which is something we've always wanted, to have numbers on the back of our shirts, so we can do that. But we've also got the area kit, which for the first time that since I've been here in 4 years, we've actually had the in-date kit, which is you take it as you can really with that. But yeah.
But would you say you're a striker? Everyone looks to you to get the goals. If you've scored that many, you must be.
What are you? Are you a Connor Washington? Are you a Matt Smith? Are you a Charlie Austin? What type of player?
I'm greedy. That's like, but to me, like, I do my job well. Like my team rely on me to get the goals because I've proven myself to be a reliable player and that I can actually do that. But I don't know. I'd say I'm a mix of people. Like obviously, I feel like my personal favourite is Ronaldinho. Can't do half the stuff he does, but give it a go. Like, there's only one way to find out if you could do it.
And you said you've got 6 months left. Is that because you're getting too old for the team or something?
Oh no, as in for the season.
The
season finishes, because my goal is to finish my 4th season as QPR striker with 100 goals.
That'd be wicked.
That'd be good. And is your ambition to carry on down the coaching route?
I want to do both. Like, I still want to play, but last year I got plagued with injuries just constantly. My ankles were giving out and all that sort of stuff. But I'm 22. Like, I've still got plenty of fight in me. It's just if my body can handle it. But the coaching route, I can see myself doing that till I can't walk, because it's just so enjoyable to do it as well. And I don't work with mainstream kids. I work with the disability side of QPR Trust. So I work with the kids with Down syndrome, pan disability, mental health, and for me, that to see someone smile because I'm helping them play football, it makes you feel a lot better about yourself. And the fact that, for me personally, it's more about, I've been in a dark place where I couldn't smile. So if I can make someone smile, then all the pain that I've gone through is worth it, because I can stop someone else doing it. And it's the same with the football. It's the same with all that. It's why I went on BBC Two. It's why I did all the interviews. It's why I spoke at Parliament. Was I want people to realise that having a mental illness isn't the end. And even though sometimes it does feel like it, it doesn't mean it's the end of your life, really. And it's just about helping others who are in the same predicament that I was in to get out of it. And it's even if it's people who haven't went to the doctor to see someone, it's about just saying, do you know what? It's okay to talk. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel heartbroken or distressed.
I was going to ask you about that because actually it's quite timely. It was International Men's Day yesterday, which is a sort of international day encouraging men to talk about mental health issues. And some of these stats are well, shocking, I guess, to if you're not involved with it. I think over 4% to 10% of men will experience depression at some point. In 2013, there were 6,000 suicides in the UK amongst men aged 15 plus. And the statistics show that just in a typical football squad, there could be up to 9 members of it with a mental health issue. What would you say to people who are experiencing an issue and what they need to do?
The best thing you could do for yourself is recognise if you have a problem. That is pardon me, that's the main struggle, is recognising you actually have a problem. Because for years I didn't recognise I had a problem, and then it got to the point where I was put in a hospital where my problems all came out. It's just about getting the right help and being around people who bring you up and support you. I've been lucky enough to have a family that saw me in hospital but didn't let me become a number in the system. Like with the statistics, it's sad because 75% of men under 45 will take their own life, which is the single biggest killer. And I'm talking about, you've got cancer, you've got car accidents, you've got all the stuff that could kill normal people, but one we can prevent is the biggest killer. And unfortunately, I know that firsthand because my dad's one of that statistic. And I know if you ask anyone who's part of that statistic, I mean family members, they're not just a statistic. They're a loved one. They're a brother or a sister. I would say sister, but they're a brother, a dad, a son. And it's just about getting help, really, because there is help available, whether it's the best or not really, but it's there. And if you talk about your problems, it makes things a hell of a lot easier. It's not always easy to do it, but it is worth it, because if I didn't talk about my problems, I wouldn't be here today.
James, let's go. First of all, can I just say you speak very well. I think on mental illness, on playing for the team, on assessing the game, on assessing the fact that we're not bringing young players through. I mean, everything tonight you've said has been absolutely spot on, and you're welcome back any time. I just want to take you back to, you mentioned earlier on about Parliament, and you did Parliament in Victoria, Derbyshire in the space of about 24 hours. So can you tell us how that came about and how doing those two things was?
Well, less than 24 hours, about... It was about, I would say about... So we finished at 9 and I had to be at the show for less than 12 hours. But basically, so there's an organisation called Mental Health Football Association, which was set up by Colin, who plays for Everton's mental health team. And his goal was to bring all the mental health teams in the country together. So if someone asked... So it's basically like a big yellow pages, but of mental health football teams. So if someone was in London, what mental health teams were in London that they could go for, or in Everton or wherever. And he had arranged it with Andy Burham. Andy Burham booked the room. And he went to me, he was like, I need speakers for it. And he rang me up and he was like, you're the first one I thought of, because you speak about your problems, as we all should. We should be so open about it. We should say, this is what is going on. And he said, I've seen, because I played with him in 2013 when I started first playing for QPR. And he said, you play football as well, but you speak about it. And he had seen the post I put on Facebook about my dad, and he knew that football had had the same impact on me that it did for him. So he just rang me up and was like, can you do this for me? It's in Parliament. And I was like, yeah. So halfway through the speech, Andy Burham gets a text message while he sat right next to me while I'm speaking. And then he starts laughing. Well, not laughing like proper loud, but he was just giggling at his phone. So he showed Colin next to him and was just like... So I didn't think any of it. And then it came to an end and he sort of came over to me and he was like, there's a BBC editor here who heard you speaking. Can she have your number? So I was like, all right, fair enough. I didn't have any clue about what it was about or anything like that. So we get outside, me and my mum, a few others, and get outside and get a phone call. So I'm like, hello, who's this? And she was like, it's Louisa from BBC Two. But I didn't hear that. I just heard Louisa. So she's speaking to me and she was like, taking all a little bit of information down to put it up on for the next day. And she goes, you're going on BBC Derbyshire, which is what I thought I heard, but it wasn't. So
you thought it was BBC Derby?
Yeah, the radio show. I said, that's why I said it to them. I was like, I said it to my mum. I was like, how did they expect me to get up there for 7 o'clock the next day? And then she gave me a dress in London. I was like, this isn't right. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, it comes. I've got to be there for 7 o'clock. So I'm leaving my house like absolutely shattered. So I'm like, so I get into the thing. You get a pass from the security, sit in the green room, and I'm just like looking at the pass like half out of my head. Oh, I was just like, can't be bothered. So then I was like looking at it, and then my mum rings me. She went, do you know what you're on yet? I was like, no, just BBC Two. She went, Victoria, Derbyshire. And I went, that's what it says on the pass. She went, do you know who that is? I said, I'm not even up this early, just normally. So then Victoria walks in, sees my speech, because I had a speech that I said in Parliament, and she asked to read it, so I was like, alright, read it. And then she goes out, and Mum rings me again. She's like, have you seen anyone? I was like, yeah, she's just come in now. She was like, do you know who she is? I was like, no, like, I don't watch TV on a good day anyway. So next thing you know, there's this massive man with this camera in my face just looking at me, and I'm like, this is the most awkward thing in my entire life. Later that day, I think it was the first hour, it had 75,000 views. By the end of that day, it had 1 million. Wow. The second one didn't go down that good, but yeah, it was enjoyable. I think the second one was more laid back with the players, and it was more me in my zone in the football pitch. But yeah, going from Parliament to BBC Two wasn't. I didn't have a clue. Like,
and then a few months later, you get an award for it. It's a whirlwind few months, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, the last 7 months have been an incredible journey. Like, I'm just thankful to everyone, QPR fans. QPR have supported me, my family, my friends. I don't think I would have done it without them. And especially the reception it got, the first one, it was a bit overwhelming because I'm the person that likes their private life. But from being a nobody to 1 million people seeing my story in one day.
When you thought you were in Derbyshire.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought I was just a face for the radio.
Well, you did great. You did great, James.
Amazing,
and
amazing.
Look, prepared or not, or knowing where you were going or not, I think you know QPR fans, football fans, and the general public are full of admiration for what you've done, and doing that interview. And I think it's probably had a long-lasting effect on a lot of people. So thank you for coming and joining your story. So and sharing your story. I beg your pardon. Well, we're not quite done with the show yet, and it almost seems inadequate now to sort of how do we do that? How do we segue onto football from here? I mean, some of the nonsense that we talk on here, most of the time, about was that a penalty or was it a goal or drop this one or this manager should be sacked seems totally inadequate.
Why did I go to Switzerland and bring back completely the wrong chocolate for everyone? That was bad.
I didn't catch any of that, Paul. But
no, I went to Switzerland and got abused for bringing back the wrong chocolate from my daughter. And I
see.
Yeah.
It was like, how can you go to the capital of the world for chocolate and bring back something which is basically a protein bar? My friend Alan did the same thing with his family. It's okay.
Well, I bought some chocolate shamrocks back from Ireland. They went down well.
Oh, you tourist.
Well, listen,
you absolute tourist.
We've got to jump straight into the Arse End, including James. So we'll ask you your Arse End. We'll come to you last, which is this part of the show is anything and everything about QPR that anybody hasn't mentioned yet and wants to get in. So you can have a few minutes to think about it. I'll go first. What was I going to talk about? The difference between Albert Adoma...
I was going to say that.
Were you going to say this? And John Terry?
No. Oh, no.
And John Terry. So Albert Adoma scored against us, behaved respectfully, what a sort of stand-up guy, I guess. He scores 2 goals.
Against the club he loves.
Against the club he loves. He's from West London. And he behaves... I have to say, I don't always like it when players don't celebrate, and I would have allowed him a bit more of a celebration.
Oh, you'd have
perhaps
allowed
he
him,
had.
would you?
Yeah, I would have allowed him. You never know.
Better be pleased with that.
But, you know, it was all in proportion and respectful, wasn't it? Compared to John Terry and his Instagram and Snapchat message. And if anyone didn't see it, I think he said, walking away from Loftus Road with 3 points as usual.
That was some.
Can I just come in there, right? He's played, unless I've got this wrong, 3 times, and he's got one of each, and a £220 fine for being a racist gobshite, and losing England captaincy. Well done, Ball Street, for pointing that out as well, where I got it from. So he goes to Loftus Road, he gets fined £220,000, he loses a captaincy, ends up in court for being a racist gobshite, and it's just.
So we win.
We'll always win. I mean, the difference between them two players, that one's quite a nice, humble human being, and the other one's John Terry.
Yeah. Well, my
Chris.
have you been Adomar? I'm not quite sure.
Adoma.
Anyway,
I think it's Adoma.
Regards to that, yeah, it's just on that subject of being a QPR fan, played for Harrow Borough. I'm just wondering how he slipped through the net.
Stuart Pearce, the Wallace brothers, Dennis Wise.
He went to Barney. Yeah, he went to Dennis Wise in the jungle now, isn't he? Which is apropos to absolutely nothing at all. But yeah, he went to Barnet, then Bristol City. But we somehow missed out on him. I was going to say, I mean, the difference between us and Villa. I mean, apparently they've spent 36 million since they got relegated. So they really
We've spent a lot more than that since we got relegated.
No, points are absolutely taken. But I'm just saying that we're in that sort of reverse situation now. But one thing I did do, I turned the calendar out. Luongo was on the QPR calendar on my daughter's wall in October. And as I turned it over, I said, do you know, I've got a feeling this is a bad move. So this morning I've turned it back from November back to October. So I'm hoping.
I thought it was strange that he started.
Yeah, it surely would have made sense to do what they did and just bring him on for the last 25.
With Jedenak.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he has been at home. He's been amazing.
Oh,
he
yeah.
can't have got back before Friday morning, earliest.
Yeah, but
and he obviously went out on the piss.
You'd think
after,
so, yeah.
And it's a long journey. I mean, that is. I have no idea what the.
David, you talk about long journeys. You live in the Northern Line, son.
Sorry, Chris. I did cut across your Arse End.
That was it, really. I mean, it's that's silly thing you do, lucky pants and all that. So the calendar has been turned back. So I'm hoping that might bring us a bit.
Chris, I'm not being funny, and please don't take this the wrong way. With your memory being what it is that a wise thing to do?
Thank you, Paul.
Just keep it to 6 Arse Ends.
There goes 7. Well, it's no. Just basically, it's really interesting. On Saturday, it's a strange thing. I did a thing for Aston Villa TV. I don't even know how I did it. I was drunk.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the thing
You're such a media darling.
Yeah, you put me in touch with the thing, yeah. And nice fella, but it's kind of like they basically came here to interview us, maybe have a wee bit of a giggle. We spent so much money and we're in the position we're in, blah, blah, blah. And it's just interesting that he sort of said about QPR local area, and I was just like, yeah, but what you don't get is a lot of people come to Loftus Road. It got me thinking, because of the links we've got to the past, be it our grandfathers, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, whoever took us to games first, whoever was there, whoever introduced us to this wonderful thing, and because of the, how do you call it, the regeneration of London, so many people don't live in West London anymore. And it is kind of the last link. Whereas I don't think clubs from outside London get that, because if you're Birmingham, obviously you're Villa, Birmingham, everything else. And it got me thinking, it'd be really great if we could have a thing at QPR where those who are no longer with us could have some representation on a wall or something like that there, where families can put names up and such like.
Well, we're recording now about 200 yards away from the Emirates, and when you walk down there, they've got a hole in front of the stadium, in front of the shop. They've got basically the pavement. Every single brick on the pavement you could buy and dedicate to
Wembley's
a family member
got it as well.
Yeah,
it'd be nice because London is changing, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, despite the dodgy accent, I grew up in Westbourne Park. And I've moved away, and everyone I knew in Westbourne Park who was QPR have also moved away, some up to north, some everywhere. So, which brings me on to my point, which I was getting to, David, eventually.
Give me straight. Was that not your point? Are you serious?
Yeah, I've got a point. And
what's Ronnie Corbett?
Yeah, come on.
If we go ahead with all this regeneration and move and everything else, and we move away from Loftus Road, that's going to be hard, isn't it? But luckily, it will probably never happen, so we don't have to worry about it. Because I watched the fans forum and still talk about the training ground, still talking about moving away from Loftus Road. Why don't we just
Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Oh, why can't we just improve Loftus Road? I mean, you've got the family section, which has got the, you've got the eel bar, you've got the bar, you've got the food, you've got everything. You go to Africa Road, you're lucky if you get served. So, can we please do up the ground a wee bit and make the match day experience that wee bit nicer? And also, one last thing.
Yeah, go on.
No,
Sorry, James.
James will finish eventually. He'll get home at some point. Wasn't it nice to have such a good atmosphere on Saturday? That was so different to most games. I mean, I know Villa are arrogant. I know that they like. I mean, they were saying you wouldn't hear for the Villa, and I was like, you're in the Championship because you're shite. And it's brilliant to see a packed ground. A survey came out last week that no youngsters are going to football. That's got to be addressed. That's got to be sorted, and they've got to think about away prices, because to have a full away end does lead to.
You know what the
better
problem
atmosphere.
is with that? I know we're like running over, and Harry
Sorry,
was
Harry.
engineering for us tonight. Yeah, I work with a lot of younger people, 21, 22, 23-year-olds. They don't support anyone. They love football.
Seriously?
They watch football. You're not, James is nodding, but they don't support a team. There's loads of young people now who just like watching football. They like the Premier League.
Does that go
Am
back?
I right?
Yeah.
Does that go back then, James? You reckon to the community thing as well, for people not feeling part of their own community because of whatever reason?
Well, I know quite a few people that, and I've talked to a few people. If they can't get to a big game like Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, they'll just buy a Fulham or a QPR one, but not even support them. And it's difficult because obviously the next generation, like if I ever have a kid, I'll bring them to QPR, whether that's the right decision or whatever. But I think a lot of them just don't know who they want to support, because they see all these big players and think, oh, I like him, but I like him. But for me, football's football at the end of the day. If it doesn't matter who you support, like obviously I was brought up Liverpool, but QPR is my blood now. It's where I am at home. I've been to Liverpool twice. I've been to QPR both last season and this season, every game. I think people need to get more interested in it, because it's the same with like the actual players. They're just losing interest. Like, because now you go to a football game, all you see is people taking selfies or doing stuff like that, and they're not enjoying the match. They're just
been to a game with Finney then?
Nah. But they're not entirely. They just want to show off on social media. Like, they're not actually interested in the 90 minutes of football. Obviously, you get your die-hard fans, but at the end of the day, it's all tourism now, really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It's a fair point, because we played Man United on, and in the lower paddocks, there was a lot of cameras following the ball. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was on, of course there's no Man United fans in the home sections. But tell you what, James, I'll say this, and I don't know what you guys think. Well done to QPR for what you've said, what you've done coming in here. There is sometimes we get very down.
Does Arse End yet?
Yeah, so what would you like to say, James? What would you-
I
what's-
was
what's
just going to say something nice about QPR, which is negative.
Sorry, James. He's
Sorry,
like this
James.
a lot. Sorry.
And I think James is a product of a real football club, was what I was saying. Sorry, James.
yeah.
So, James, you can have your say on that now.
Just a quick thing with that. It's, do you know what? We're obviously watching the game, and you want them to win, but we forget about the things that happen off the pitch.
Yep.
For me, it saved my life, but then you got the tragic events at Grenfell, the stuff.
Yeah.
I was working that day, so we actually got called in to bring plastic bags full of stuff up to the towers. And it's just stuff like that. We think it's just 90 minutes of football twice a week, when actually the stuff that goes on behind the scenes is... That's what I mean. Like, I know myself with Healthy Kickers, the amount of people that they help, it just goes unrecognised. And for me, the heroes aren't the football players; it's the coaches that go into the community. And I've been lucky enough to be part of QPR, because I have heard some shocking stories of some other teams. But that's what I mean. Like, at the end of the day, if I didn't, I can put it down to 3 coaches that really have changed my life and saved it, which is Connor, Nathan and Justin. Without those three, and without the football itself, I don't think I would be here. And it's people like that deserve the recognition. I know, but they don't want it for that. They do it to change people's lives. And that's why I'm glad now I can do that to other people by coaching. But my little buggy issue is it gets me frustrated, is the Royal Panda on the kit. It's way too high. Like, why would you have it so high up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you see all the other teams and it's like on their stomach, but this one's like just under the badge, under the sponsor, and it's just like...
I love that we've spent the best part of an hour talking about some quite heavy stuff, and the thing that you are bothered about is that Royal Pandas are hooped too high.
Yeah.
But we get you.
I think that's for TV and picture purposes, obviously, to get in every shot, so...
Yeah.
But even that, it still
agree, by
looks
the way.
horrible. Like,
Yeah.
the kit's nice. I'm not saying the kit isn't. It's just that bit ruins it for me. It ruins
If
it.
I wasn't so fat, I'd buy one of the kids' ones, because I like the on-sport hoops, as it should be.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough because when we got our new kit for the area, we don't have it on it.
wicked,
So
man.
when we go to tournaments, we don't have Royal Panda.
You got an extra large one kicking around.
I don't know what we've got. Probably kid sizes to be
extra
fair.
large for you.
A wee bit.
Generous.
Right.
James, sorry, Chris, were you about to say something?
No, I wasn't. No, I was just going to say, right, are we going to...
Predictions. We
Yeah.
always finish off with predictions. James, what do you think the Derby game will bring us tomorrow? And we should do Brentford as well.
So what does this get?
Scores.
Just
It
the
does.
score.
Just what do you think the score will be?
We would hold
The last game we beat them 3-0. I remember that one. So I'm going to go for 2-1, I'd say, to keep you up.
Tomorrow against Derby.
Yeah.
And Brentford on Monday?
Oh, tomorrow. Oh, I thought that was Brentford.
Okay. So
Right,
you think we'll
Derby.
beat Brentford?
Oh, yeah, we're going to beat Brentford 2-1. Derby, I say I'm going to go with 0-0. Oh, I'm going to go with 0-0.
Chris?
Well, we've won 4 points out of 32 possible away this season. Not one away since 4-1 at Birmingham in February, which is 9 months. You could have a baby in that time. I don't think that's going to change, but I do think we have to nick a point, really, because we're two games to the bad now, and I don't want us to go on another one of those runs, so I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1. And Brentford?
Brentford, we'll thrash them. I think maybe 2-0. I'll go 2-0.
Finney, for the love of God, I'm trying to finish this podcast. Please, just give us the score. Please.
He's just given me an interesting thought. Do you reckon there will be a child at primary school before we win an away game that was conceived?
Quite possibly, Paul. Quite
Birmingham.
possibly.
Scores.
Let's go.
It's nearly Tuesday.
Do I look like George in the doors? No. Right, I'm going Derby. Our away form isn't great. It's been a long time, and it may continue to be a long time for the next win, but I'll take a point. Brentford, sick to ficking death losing to Fulham and Brentford.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
hate it. Should never happen. It's local Derby. Can't lose another one. Give it all. Beat Brentford on Monday. Thank you very much.
I'm feeling 2 draws. A 1-1 and a 2-2. Don't know in which order. Thank you very much, chaps. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Amazing big
Legend,
man.
legend.
Amazing story. What you've gone through and come out the other side at the age of 22 is more than probably most people.
You've done your
most,
family proud,
most
mate.
groups combined will go through in their entire lifetime.
He's done his
That's
family
right.
proud. and hasn't he, let's be
Absolutely.
fair.
Yeah.
To come on here and do that is amazing. Well done, mate.
Well
Please
done,
do
you.
come on again.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do, mate.
Thank you very much for listening. This is Open All Ours. We will be back next week.
UPR, UPR, Response Rangers are on the